Welcome to the library users meeting for December 2nd, 2025. Hopefully you're watching this recording. It's a snow day for everyone. And I'm going to turn off my camera. I was just on here for a moment to say hello, and we are going to move forward. And David is going to be telling us some information here about loading equipment and Scholastic book MARC records. Our agenda also includes library support site. I want to be sure both regions know where they can find these recordings, past recordings, other resources. We'll go through a quick global item modified demonstration. I was in several meetings or had requests throughout the fall that it just let me know. Not everyone is aware of how handy this tool is. So I want to be sure everyone is aware and uses for it. Overdue Reports also has been very popular. And to bring up something called the Discharge of Old Transactions so that they don't linger on your overdue reports. Book lists. This was a special request that came through, and now we have 2 ways that you can make Christmas book lists, holiday book lists of any season. And then I want to share the Buckeye Children's and Teen Book Award, which was just announced yesterday. And there were user council, a meeting on November 12th that I want to be sure you hear some of those requests that we might not have gotten from our user council reps. So let me turn off my camera here. And we'll get started. To begin with MARC records, I just wanted to give a little primer of it. We do have new users who may not really understand the guts of what a book has behind the scenes. And they call that a MARC record, a machine. Oh gosh, I didn't look this part up. Machine driven. Each letter stands for, and maybe David could Google that for me. I kind of put myself on the spot. But MARC.
Yeah, it's a machine readable cataloging record.
Thank you. Yep. So what we have on screen is a side by side. And hopefully you are still seeing that. And so what is this? On the left is what David sees. On the right is what you see in workflows. So the SMARC record is a way libraries stored their books information, and it's a computer-friendly format. Now, each piece of that information, like your title, your author, your subjects, publisher, all of that, it's placed in a labeled box called a tag. So there's a 3-digit number you see carrying down the left side of each screen. Now, think of a MARC record like a very organized form. Each 3-digit tag is a field on the form. And the most useful MARC bibliographic tags, like this is in plain English here, we're going to go with the 020. And this is the ISBN number. So that's what everybody sees, even when you're at a bookstore buying books or even at your general grocery. And the next tag I want to point out that would be very popular to you is the main author. That's the 100 tag highlighted in green. And it's the primary person who wrote the book because there could be multiple authors. So there you see William Steig for this book. And next is the 245, and that is your title. That's the big one. And this is the tag for a title and statement of responsibility, like who is responsible for the work, which is usually the author. And you might also see some subfields in there, and you'll see the main title, a subtitle, a statement of responsibility. So this example in orange is Sylvester and the Magic Pebble. And oddly enough, the book I chose happened to be one I read as a kid. So if I go down to this blue tag, this is the 260, which is old. They really typically use the 264 tag. That's public information. So the publisher, the place, the date, and Now we are going to also see possibly the year in there. So look how old this book is, 1969, and we see where and who published it. The 300 tag highlighted in red. Now we see its physical description. And anytime you're cataloging your books with SmartPort, matters. Is it a hardbound? Is it paperback? How thick is it? And all that would be on the verso page of your book. So we're seeing if there's illustrations and all the details there. So I know this one is 32 pages and it has illustrations and it's 32 centimeters. The 500, and sometimes when people just broadly describe a tag, they'll have like the 5XX. So the two X's represents all of the 500s from 500 to 596, like we see here on the list. So I put a box around that because there's a lot of range here, but these are note fields and they'll have notes about the item. And here in this 520, that would be the summary. And so we see in a moment of fright, Sylvester the donkey asks his magic pebble. There it is. That's the summary. And next would be the 600 tag in purple. These are also important. These are your subject headings. These are possibly if a student is doing a word search through your online library, then they type donkeys. Well, they're going to find this book. And also it includes the 650 has, let's see, we see that it's also labeled as fiction. The last box here on the left on what David sees is where David's going to take over now. And I'll pop up here to just quickly, oh, I'm missing an image. What has happened? Maybe I'll just fly through those to see if my image comes back. No, it didn't. Somewhere that got lost. So let me try and fix that because that's pointless. And if I don't have it, because it is in the original presentation. How strange. This one doesn't need an animation. That was interesting. I'll go back. See if I can refresh. There we go. So here is the item. And this 999 is where I'm just going to quickly go through what you would see if you were editing an item with call item maintenance or call number and item maintenance. So the item ID, that is down in that bottom, this 999 region, and that's the barcode. In green, that is its type. In blue, the item library. In orange, the shelf location. And so David does list these, especially Chromebooks, as available right as he loads them.
Yep.
And material type, this one is a book. So I wanted to show you what you most commonly see with a book, but all these little highlights have value even for equipment as well. Oh, and there we go. The funding source was the last one on the slide. So I'm going to let David take it away from here. And do you want me to stop my share? You have anything to show
Uh,
us?
you can keep it. There really, unfortunately, isn't much to show, as it's
Okay.
most like back end stuff. I don't want to confuse anybody. But I will go over what I need. So what you saw there, what I see is through a program called MarcEdit. MarcEdit pretty much is a text editor like Notepad. It'll open up the MARC file to be readable, and I can edit the subfields and the tags. So as Rebecca just showed, everything when you send a MARC file to me, most of it is stored in either an 852 tag or a 999 tag. Mostly it's an 852 tag. I run a script that's provided by InfoHio through MarcEdit on the MARC records. So these are like your normal vendor records that get sent right to me. I run a script on that. It kind of cleans up the data, puts it all in a 949 tag, which the Cersei server, so like the backend server that I use to load into workflows, can read it better. And for vendors that are set up like Tidal Wave, um, and Junior Library Guild, it's pretty easy. Their files are pretty already sanitized, I guess is the best word for it. And they play nice with the script, and I can just load it in, and it's pretty much automatic. All that information auto-populates, and I can throw it in. Where it gets a little complicated is with the laptop Chromebook and spreadsheets and the Scholastic MARC records. So for the districts that use us to load Chromebooks in, before we had to do like a mail merge with the barcodes and stuff, and I have kind of streamlined a way to um, quickly get those records into workflows in a template. So we're not spending a lot of time on workflows, and it's a lot faster for the district. And really, I'll focus on Chromebooks first. All I really need for Chromebooks, when you send in, I will take a template of an existing Chromebook MARC record that is already in there, that has already been loaded in there, and then I will throw all the information that's sent in a spreadsheet. Most districts now know to send me a spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet just needs to contain the asset tag if your district is using an asset tag, the model, so like the model or the title that you want it to show up in workflows, the serial number, and then the barcode. Now, I can run the barcodes with a dumb label report, or it's a lot easier if you send me a barcode in a spreadsheet with each piece of equipment, the serial number you want that barcode assigned to. Um, and then I'll just run it into a Python script, and that Python script will then create a bunch of MARC records, similar to how the books are loaded, and I can easily use the existing scripts on the Circe server to load those Chromebooks in like they're a book. And I automatically have it put in the library code, um, and the funding source and the equipment type, so that X subfield will be equipment and all that good stuff. The barcode will be in there, and all that. So using the knowledge I gained from working on the Chromebook script, I'm also able to load Scholastic MARC records. Scholastic will normally, I think Scholastic will send like a .zip file with all the MARC records in one zip file. These out of the box don't have the correct barcodes attached to them, nor do they have your library tag. So that was that M tag. I also have a script for that, that I just go in with MARC do a MARC join, so all the marks are listed in one like master MARC record. Um, and then I go through with a script, and I run a dumb label report to grab barcodes in your range. I then run through all of the records in the master MARC record and replace the barcodes with the correct barcode. And then I also add the library code so that the server knows where to load it and to load it into the right library. But for Scholastic MARC records now, all I really need is just a folder with all of the marks that Scholastic sent, and I would be able to very quickly throw it into the database. So I know that's a lot of information kind of to throw out, but most of it is on my side. Um, I really just ask that there's a model name, an asset tag, and a serial number, as well as barcodes to go with all the Chromebooks if you're loading equipment. And then for Scholastic MARC records, I just ask that you send me all the records in the zip folder, and I can do the rest there. If you have any questions, you can contact me at holt@tccsa.net, or send in a help desk ticket to support@tccsa.net, or library help at NOACA. Is it NOACA.net, NOACA.com?
Dot
Sorry, I don't.
org.
.org. Yes, sorry. NOACA.org. Um, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. I know it's I want to explain this as layman as I can, without getting into the technicals, but yeah, that's
Well,
pretty
and
much the summary of it.
Okay. And it's okay to hear the technicals because then I appreciate what you're doing
Yeah.
because it's out of, my wheelhouse and I know you're able to handle it. And I am grateful to hear because now we know if we didn't know yet, or if we're a new library staff member, like, hey, I just had a book fair. What? I don't have to manually catalog those? So really, we just want to get that message out to you all to be sure you're aware that this is a service and support that David can offer. And same for your equipment, whether it's, a Chromebook is technically the type of device, or your chargers, or if you have e-readers or iPads, just to let you know so you're not hand cataloging equipment and those Scholastic book orders.
And I to also add, I can make bulk changes on vendor data as well. Say you set a funding source incorrectly or a funding source is incorrect in a certain book order. I can go in and change that funding source in bulk on a certain number of loads. I would just need like the PO or the order invoice number, and I can do stuff like that as well. So things like that, MARC allows me. Practically, the gist of it all is MARC is amazing, and it allows
Yeah.
me to do a lot of things with the MARC records after they've been compiled by the vendor.
Okay. Well, thank you, David. I am gonna forward on to just showing someone if they were cataloging a piece of equipment or a one-off that isn't part of a load that David's going to do for you. What I have on screen is SmartPort. See up here at the top, and it's a search. So when you launch SmartPort, you can search for the word equipment. So when I hit search, it came up with these 20 different templates. So they are for original cataloging. And there's a lot in here, not just equipment, because there is, well, yeah, maybe this is mainly the equipment because of the search. Sorry. Now, if I was to go ahead and select number 12 there, laptop computer, and if I hit display, this is what we would see. Now, these are the tags that it would allow us to customize. And so if I did click capture on that, then the equipment templates here on the left, where then each field is editable, and then I could fill out that single item of equipment on my own. Over on the right then is showing you, and this is a bad example because I picked a charger, but over here it started with a laptop computer. But I could start typing CHG on the left and put in the number, and the finished example would be what we see on the right. And the 245 would be the title then. And you see here on the left, 245. I could wipe out what it says here and actually type in charger. And this person also included the type and where it was purchased, or this model. So all of these subfields are available for you. Thanks, David. And we're going to move on now to resources for your needs. Both regions here, TCCSA and NOECA, are supported at one location. And this web address here will take us to one page for both areas. And I've written this up, kind of refreshed it so that it does include both of you. So it is a support page for TCCSA and NOECA regions. And when we look down below, you'll see the two emails referenced earlier. TCCSA, this is the email you send your request to. NOECA, this is your request email. And we are here to help you with anything with workflows, anything with MARC records, and then even some inventory assistance. That's something I can help support. Below are training, resources, installs and guides, and collection web access. Sometimes you have your field techs and they need the installs. So you can direct them to that page. Right here for the training page, it has the school year, and each time we have a meeting, I'll be listing the recordings here. Right now is today's presentation, 2 handouts that are particular what we'll be speaking about. September, I just had the presentation, and below then when the recording comes out, I post these to YouTube, create chapters that allow you to just jump to the piece you want. And this timeline here on the left doesn't mean how long this lasts. Honestly, here for new users, this little discussion here on this topic only went from 37 minutes to 39. So it's 2 minutes long. This is just a timeline on where you would find this topic in the video. And back in August, we had trainings. So those are listed, the recordings last school year as well. So we'll see past meetings. This meeting, I really didn't have a feature, I think because I wanted to take care of some nuts and bolts for all our new users, even though November or December might seem a little late, it is still like the dust has cleared. Now you're able to settle and think a little more clearly and maybe reach out and go back to some of these resources. But last year in May, we were talking about end of year. And this will be repeated for this school year as well. Hopefully not as late as May, maybe April. But you can go back to previous years. So we also had a March meeting where we talked about scheduling and managing report templates. So I won't cover every topic every year. That means you might want to scroll back to these previous meetings and check these out, featuring library policies and patron attendance. We talked about Blue Cloud. So this meeting was all about Blue Cloud, and with a handout that is specific that'll guide you through using that. Also at that time, product discounts from OhioNet were listed. And I also try to email these out to you all, so you'll get periodic emails, but I know what it's like. If your inbox is like mine, you lose those messages. So I want to remind you that this is the place to come to for everything that comes out through email. I'm going to scroll to the top here, jump to the next page quickly. Resources. These are a few that I felt were important to you. Of course, the Library Services Handbook. That is a bookmark on my bookmark bar here. I use this constantly. The OhioNet discount flyer. The Ohio Ready to Read initiative. Over here, the scanner recommendations. Now, this is a spreadsheet, and it's actually a list created kind of crowdsourced. InfoOhio made it up, and I know some of you all have contributed. And this last one got pushed down to a second row. Ohio Collection Analysis Initiative. So this is where you could get Tumble Books access. Sorry, maybe not Tumble Books. Let me actually click. But you can upload your collection. Oh dear, what have I done? I have a bad link. There we go. We'll have to refix that link. Kind of glad I visited that just now. But we'll get there so that we can get that link fixed. So apologies there. I'll make a note. But these are the resources for all of you. And let me quickly go through the installs page. Things that you can handle yourself would be your fonts. If you're still using the classic barcode report, you would want the 3 of 9 font. If you're using all the newer barcode or patron barcode reports, the Google barcode font works fine. That's the newer, it came out in 2024 that they made this offer. Even the workflows installation file and instructions and properties that are suggested. Down below, a few of the highlights, just super like 30,000 foot level here. So just the handbooks link, even setting a print pathway. This is very commonly reported as an issue. So if you need to fix this, if your report's telling you pathway not found, I have the PC and the Mac version. There it is. The exact statement you'll see is the specified path was not found. And that tells you, all right, you just need to reconnect the bridge from workflows to your Microsoft Word and Excel programs. Lastly, how do you get to your collection through the web? And you can bookmark your portal. So your region portal will be listed here. And this is handy for you because it has Blue Cloud. It has where you can review your policies. If you're interested in that attendance module we spoke about last spring, mobile staff when you're doing inventory, and definitely your online catalog. So if you are trying to visit and point students to search for books through your online catalog, make sure you bookmark your specific building. So you would actually visit your building and this would be the link you would bookmark. So each one of those is for each region. Noeka, your portal looks exactly the same links. If you choose, you can just go to the online public access, which I just visited through the portal, but this is also a link straight there, listing your school libraries. Mobile staff. So I said that's good for inventory. And this is something you could have multiple users signed into the same account, scanning books for inventory in your library. And there is an activation code for each region. So I've listed those. And I even have a handout that shows the activation code as a barcode. So you don't have to copy and paste or hand type this long activation code. You can actually scan the barcode. But be attentive here to the instructions. You need to select your district, not the one in my handout. And it'll walk you through a little setup. That way you get the audio alerts, and that's for each region as well. Lastly is Blue Cloud. So if you didn't find the Blue Cloud handout, it is here as well. InfoOhio has a full learning pathway. It takes longer to go through, but my handout I actually made from their learning pathway, meaning it's kind of, it follows it. So they're in line with one another. And lastly are your library policies. That was a link at the portal. And if you're wondering, okay, what are my policies? What policies? And so below, bulleted, you'll see what you can get from there, meaning staff or faculty, patron would be your students, item groups. So what groups are you using? Do you use easy? Do you have equipment, graphic novels, etc.? Your circulation rules. So if students are set for certain grade levels, it'll show you that they'd have 1 week for their checkout, 1 renewal, and 0 fines. And a circulation map is really, it's taking the combination of your library, the profile, which is either a faculty or a student, and then the item group and the circulation rule. So it really wraps it all together. And it's the rules that have to be followed for circulation. And then the last thing is what I ask for you in the spring is your compulsory return dates. So those will be found when you log in. And the login you use is the same as going into workflows. You select, oh, I selected the wrong region. Sorry about that. You select your school and you put in your details. So we did talk about this in the spring as well. So we should have a little recording on that. And then someone can review, their calendar as well. And each of the items that were bulleted can be jumped to from the menu at the top. So I hope you find this resource page helpful to you. And I want to be sure you know about that link. Are there any questions before I continue on? And Beth, you're our sole participant here today. I'm putting you on the spot. And it's okay if you don't have any. You can type them in the chat. I'm going to go into our next topic here and discuss global item modify. And what would you use this for? Good golly, so much. One very useful tool or reason to use this tool is for reading, meaning you have walked around your library, you have found faded, torn, unused items that have no relevance. So these are some of those big, easy ways to identify books for reading. And now they're sitting at your desk or they're on a cart and you're thinking, great, and now I need to remove each one of these. And I have sat with somebody who had 600 on her cart. They were all picked out. And that would really take a lot of time for you to scan and remove one by one. But there is a better way. And I can show you a quick little demo here. In the speaker notes, I just want to point out of the presentation that you can get to the handout. And it's by going to the library handbook. You can visit cataloging and item maintenance. So it will offer instructions for modifying items, marking missing lost, and the manual removal at that menu. And then the link in the speaker notes goes straight to the global item modify report. Well, sorry, not report, but global item modify process. So I'm bringing up workflows here, and I'll just go to my admin menu and go through our work here. You would think I would have already pulled this up, but I did not. So here I am, henpecking around, and if this is you, I feel it too, because I never remember where these handy little gadgets are kept. And I should have known better under cataloging, right? So under cataloging, global item modify, and this wizard is what will be used to quickly scan and do something. It doesn't always have to be weeding. It could be, hey, I need to take these items and I need to change their item group. I'm no longer going to use easy. Maybe I'm just going to make them, fiction now. Excuse me. Maybe they are moving from my library to somebody else's library. So I am transferring these over to a different building. That could be done. We'll check out circulation, yes or no. That is important. It must be stay yes if you want students to be able to check them out. Shelf location. This is the big one. This is where you would come if you are removing and want these things off your shelves and you're maybe donating the books to a local church, to a laundromat, to a doctor's office, wherever your extra books go, then you would pick discard here. If they had a curricular area that you were dealing with in your collections, that's an option. shadowed is gonna keep an item in your collection. Users won't be able to find them through the online search. That's what the shadowed represents. So I don't really need to deal with shadowed right now. I could say yes, since I'm discarding these, but part of the discard process is a two-step. First, you would come to Global Item Modify, scan your item with changing it to discard. When you're done, you email library support to say, hey, Rebecca, I just scanned 72 books. They're in discard status. Please remove them. And so that's where this removal is a little easier for you because I do that final step. Other things that can be done with Global Item Modify is setting their material type. So typically everything's already a book, or maybe this is equipment that you have in there, but maybe it was loaded long ago. And when you run a shelf list, you notice, it never does say equipment. You can fix that. Or if you're wanting to add some details and have a book labeled for certain grade levels, that type of thing. We do have a district in one of our regions where they have separate pods. So books are set to be in either the kindergarten pod, the grades 1 to 2 pod, or the grades 3 through 5. And so we've used this to identify where the book goes, even though it's in one building, one collection. And so those kindergarten books, we just picked KG, scan, 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 and they all got this new grade level moniker. So it's easy then when you scan the book, say, oh, it's checked in, but this doesn't belong in this pod. It belongs somewhere else. And I'm going to add a comment here from Beth in our chat. So she has been encouraged over the years to select weeded rather than discard when changing shelf location. Apparently, discard removes the entire record, whereas weeded does not. And she's saying she's not sure what the rationale was. I would not know that either, but it's possible that for me, I guess my example, I'm thinking this is the start of removing. Now, if you're running a report and you're looking for weeded, I would say maybe doesn't matter. It's one way or the other. Just somebody had a preference so they could see that status. I only pick discard because, like my example, that person's reaching out to me next to take them out. And I doubt if you're going to keep your items in weeded. If you like them to stick around, then maybe you're also shadowing them just so you have historic reasons. But anytime you're running a shelf list, you would want to be sure you would exempt, or maybe if you're doing a value of collection, you need to exempt weeded if you're never, ever taking those out. So if somebody else does have an opinion on that and watch this recording, please email support. And I'd love to share that back with everybody because that's very interesting. I just don't have a good rationale back for you, Beth. Keep doing it your way if you do that. And certainly I can also do my mass removal based on the weeded status. It's not that you would have to then still manually remove those. But I will do a little scanning here to show you. I just wanted to walk through some of those fields to show you what that would be like. And then I have some items here. And this is really all you do. You set up the screen, you decide what you want to happen. Nothing is being modified. Oh, and I missed the price one. So if you notice you have items that never had a price in, you could start putting prices and you can have just one set price. There also is a script I can run for items that have no price. I can say, all right, set at least $5 and all non-priced items would be entered in. But I'm hitting discard here. That's what is going to be changed to the item. I scan it. Down below, we see right here what people were in early America. Got it. I don't have to click anywhere else. I don't have to clear the field. I just scan again. And the second one appears. So you notice the item ID field is blue. The cursor's blinking at the end. And I just keep scanning. And this is how fast then you are removing those items, or, we're reading them. I would encourage you, this is going to grow over time. You can drag your bar so you can see the long list and count up how many you have. So I have 9 that I have scanned. And anytime you're ready to clear the screen, you can hit clear and just keep scanning. But I do encourage you to keep count, only because whenever you're doing this, you want to be sure you actually scanned them and didn't miss one. So that is how you would use global item modify. I was hoping today we'd have a little discussion on other ways folks use global item modify, but Beth did contribute. She uses it and changes her status to weeded, not necessarily discard. So that's okay too. Moving on to overdues, those reports that you can run. And Beth can tell me if she is using this, if it's something she's very familiar with, or which ones she uses. We have several reports that we can run. The overdue list is the first one. And our speaker notes will give you links to where you can go ahead and visit the handouts for each one. So Beth is indicating she does use it. Thanks. And I would say the setting the sort, this is a note I put into the speaker notes, that setting the sort is similar to running your patron barcodes if you're an elementary building and you run those. So each room or teacher can start a new page. So this is a list you want to give to the classroom teacher that way, or homeroom teacher. They can glance at the list, catch those kids the day before they come to see you if it's a scheduled library visit, and make sure they remind those kiddos, please bring in your items that are overdue. So let's take a peek at this one. I'm going to pull up my workflows program again, and let's go ahead and zip up some of these wizard groups, because we're just running reports here today, and schedule new. This is on our InfoHio tab and our overdues and notices. And I'm just going to put in here that this is the list. You can change the name however you like. You can append it. It's really up to you. But options that we can go across here is we can do this by a homeroom. So I would type in the homeroom number or the code that you know. You can do this by a single user by putting in an ID or comma separate a few patron barcodes in here. You can do it by user here as well. So we could say, all right, all of my student 1, 2, 3 profiles. You could even run this to include your faculty. Make sure if they have books overdue, you can click OK. You can select it for your library alone, which may already be preset. I'm picking all of my libraries. And what I'm doing, if you weren't aware for some, you can select and use the arrow, or in many of these windows, you can double click. If it's a quick double click, that'll advance the field over to the right box. And we could also limit this down to a grade level, however you like. Now, checkout selection, no need to deal with that. Bill selection, I don't have bills at my library, but you could look at a range if you are billing students. If I didn't want to use user selection, item selection is another way. So really, if I just said, hey, just run this for my whole building, it would grab any profile, whether it's faculty or student, and these multiple buildings I'm just pulling in so I have more in my report because my library is a fake library. It doesn't have a lot for me to work with. But this is that sorting note I spoke about. So now each new page is going to be based on the library. I probably wouldn't want name because that's the student's name. I would rather, this is for my teachers, I'd rather do it by their room or by the teacher. I could even say the room, the grade, but now it's the student. So this is a grade level. And hey, if I only have one teacher per grade level, that would work. But likely you have multiple teachers per grade. So I'm going with the library, then the teacher, and then the students' names will be nested with that teacher and the output options. Something very important will be coming along in the next like we have the long and we have the notices. But for now, brief is the radio button that's selected. Everything here looks fine. It will start that new page on the sort key. So it's going to be library, teacher, name. Bills, if you're not billing, take those off. And that way it's going to keep it condensed. And I'm going to run now. I'll display my finished reports. And with any InfoHio reports, that they don't need the top and the bottom box checked. So I could double click or I could select and click view. Top and bottom are cleared. I have that in my defaults actually, in case anybody wants to know about how I did that. Now we're looking at our very first page of overdues. We see our library, and the next sort key was teacher, and down here is the student. And now the teacher can see there's no price tag, there's nothing. It's just they're saying, hey, this was overdue September 1st. These from James, they were overdue from March last school year. And if you start to see things like that collect, and now we're saying, oh, yikes, 22s. And you're thinking, I'm not going to get those back. These have to be assumed lost. Then that's something we can take care of, especially this from 2021. We're recovering from COVID. There was a whole year there that you probably didn't get those books back. So this is just an example of overdues. You'd print or email the separate pages to the teachers, and it's a nice, concise list. Next up then for overdues is the mini notice. Even though it's mini, it's a little longer. So we'll take a look at this one. And a tip for this report, remember to set this report to landscape. That way it's not going to wrap around funny, because look at all this. It's saving this big area for the student's name and teacher and the grade, and that makes all of this rest of this info get squeezed. And if you're including the dates and the price, all of that, you don't want it to run over to a second line. And you're going to see what's long here about this. I can have this little message here. Please return your overdue books and Mrs. Rosecrans. So a little message. We'll go through this one now really quickly. And back to schedule new. It's on the InfoHio, same report, overdues and notices. This is our mini notice. And I'm going to keep this one simple. Go to library. I'll pick the same buildings to give myself a little more to work with. And sorting. Again, I want to separate this so I can group it by the classroom teachers. Now, of course, if you're at the middle and high school, you don't need that. By name is fine because you're seeing those kids, or they're going to somehow get that to their homeroom or a certain period of the day when they take daily attendance. Output options now will be long. And what that revealed were all these fields below that with brief were blocked out. Long, and I can still uncheck the bills if I'm not billing. I still need to have a start new page on the sort key. And then this is my default late fee message. And I will also decide what else to include here. Now, careful, and I'll even mention this on the next one with notices. How much is too much information? If this kiddo is on the bus or walking home from school, and this is a hard copy that maybe you're going to give them a little slip of paper, do they really need to have, all the details on here? Now, we've grayed out address and homeschool. It's the next report that really gets more detailed. But, do you need grade? You know your teachers. Do you need their room number? Program is more thinking like a JVS or a career center. We really don't need their ID on here. They haven't returned it yet, so why would we waste space on the paper for that? And other things, are you giving fees? If not, then take that off. I've heard encouragement about adding price because parents will look and say, oh, we know that's lost. And they see the price and they just send in the money. Other schools say, yikes, no, we're not asking for the money ever, so you can uncheck that if that's necessary. So whatever amount else you feel is required, you run and display, and we'll see how that report looks as well. So each one of these, it doesn't take much to make it up, but you can make a template instead. So you get it set once, and then you're able to run it as needed. So this one is open. Oh, and look what I forgot to do. I forgot landscape mode, and everything ran over. So I will do this real quickly one more time. I didn't even follow my own cautionary tip. Shame on me. At least you got to see the problem it caused because I didn't do landscape. My teacher, long, and landscape. There it is. See, and it's just something quickly you'll skip over. And I'm doing some of the same here to clean it up. I'm not fining, so let's take some of that off. And run one more time. And from Beth, she's letting me know for her middle school classes, they come to the library with their ELA teachers. So she will manually set up classes by teacher and period, then use their class rosters to select students to create templates for the overdues to use throughout the year. Very nice. Now, Beth, to let you know, because typically it's homeroom that kids are set up. I do have a district that they mix their kids so they don't follow the homeroom. They use colors. Like, for example, they do come with their ELA teachers. And so rather than you having to manually set those up, I wonder Yeah, maybe it's the same difference that by turning off homerooms that you can control manually. Maybe you have the same thing after all. I was hoping there was like a nice cheat for you, but um, good to know though that it's not always the homeroom when kids go. So this is the reran landscape example of the mini notice. And I know I'm zoomed in crazy big with Microsoft Word, but this time, all right, it's one or the other. This time it's a little better. There we go. It's not running extra lines. Now we see sorted by library, the teacher, the name, and here's my default message. I typed that. So you would see that's exactly what I typed and where it appeared. And we are seeing these because this is price. Well, no, there's the value of the book. Maybe I missed a box too for these, but some of these books really are marked as 0. Now, overdue, got it. And then you could cut on the dotted lines and just give kids a smaller slip of paper and fit a few more on a page. That takes care of our mini notice and overdue notice, which is 2 per page. Now, this one will give you a lot more control, and I want to point out here this special note. So the purpose of the 2 pages is a notice to notify a student or a parent of an overdue bill or item. And it can be used even to send an email. So these don't have to be printed out, or you could select address info to send to the parent. Outside email must be whitelisted if your kids are, say, Gmail students. So there is a CERSI email that would need to be whitelisted by your tech person for the kids to receive the email. If you're okay and you're like, I really don't think the kids are going to notice, they're not going to check their email, fine, just send it off. And if a parent is found because they sync with your student information system, then that means that email will get through to the parent's account. Now I have a tip in the speaker notes that the estimated fines message is default and reads, fines will increase. So there you see it. Each day until the item has been returned. Uncheck boxes that include fines if you don't charge them, and consider limiting. Too much personal information such as an address, if this is being carried by home by students, so like up here, I turned it off. Otherwise, Greg's address would have all been listed up here in this section. They already know his teacher, his grade, and the books. So there's a lot in here already. And when we get to the output options tab, you're going to see here this 2 notices per page. That's one of those you don't want to miss, like I did with the last report, missing landscape. So make sure you check the 2 notices per page so you can throw these on a paper cutter, get 2 per page, and save a little bit. Let me run this one real quick and we will be done with these overdues and notices. So this one is 2 per page. Again, super simple. I'm pulling in multiple libraries in my example just because I have few overdues. Sorting, again, by the teacher. And then my output this time is notices. So we need to make sure we check that box, 2 notices per page. I don't want to have this message where it talks about, need to find the box to check, about the estimated fines message. So there it is. So this estimated fines message was the one I had circled that talks about fees will continue to increase until the item has been returned. Maybe you like that, but that's the box to uncheck to take it off. And so here we see address, everything, program, homeschool, that's a career center type listing. I'm taking off bills, but I do have a message. And let's see how this looks. I'm leaving address on there just to show you. But if this is not being printed, you could email the notices and then have a subject line and the address from. See here, it'll say Cersei at and server names. Now, server names would be replaced with noweka.infohio.org or tccsa.infohio.org. So that's the address you would need to give to your tech person. You can email notices to all patrons with a valid email, and you could also receive an invalid email report. You can have email report as attachment and then send that to yourself if you like, or maybe you have an administrator wanting to help out as well, track down overdues. So that's another option for you. And I'm just going to say run now and display. And I did not finish the setup for the email one there. And let's view this. 2 per page, a little bit longer. And look at all of this. This is the address I might not want to have on there. Oh, yikes. Phone number also. So kiddo loses this paper walking home. It's just a little too much personal information. Unless these were truly being mailed, then that would help somebody in the office get them out. Now, I'll return your items. That was my little message I added here. And you notice now it goes clear across the page instead of reserving this left region for their name. And then because it's 2 per page, right here is an invisible line where you would throw these onto the paper cutter and separate them. And these would be ones you can hand to the students. Some teachers put them in their 9 weeks or trimester report cards. That's a good way to get them rather than getting, jammed in the bottom of a backpack. For those older grades where parents aren't as diligent looking in their backpacks or able to find those papers. Well, I showed you a few of the reports in there. They had old dates. So at the end of the year, I do summer processes and clean up things. And one of those processes includes discharging old transactions. But I don't do this unless I have approval from you. Discharge old transactions would clear out your old checkouts. And my example, I had ones in there from 2021, 22. Maybe the kid has moved. Maybe the kid is no longer in my building. And at this point, you're at a stage where you know you're not getting the book back. So there are some reports you can run to find out, do you have old transactions still lingering? Maybe you aren't noticing them on your overdue reports, or if you don't run overdue reports. So back in workflows, if I go ahead and clean up a little, and I head to the All Circulation Report tab. This one does allow me to run some reports where I can find out, hey, do I need Rebecca to run a script to discharge old transactions? Assumed lost report is here at the top, and it is one very simple. You would be able to, all it's going to do is going to, let me go back to the description. Move long overdue charged items to assumed lost location and set charge status to assumed lost. So whenever you're going through this one, keep in mind that the item is still going to be associated to the patron so that the patron can't be removed. And this fall, I did have some users say, hey, I have old kids still in my list. Well, that's what it turned out being. They still had old overdue items. They hadn't been cleared. We haven't discharged the old ones, and the kids were still appearing. So you could run out this report and see who they are and go through each of these if you want to guess what some of these settings are, because there is not a handout to take you through this. But this one's default is saying date due, and it's saying here, well, it was for before 45 days. And you can customize and run that farther back. If you don't want to touch the last school year, you could even increase this. It could be 180, it could be 365 days. So that way you're really working back in previous years. But of course, you would select your library. You could go by items and just select your library. You could do this by users, by their user's status. So like any kiddo who's going to come up and they're barred or blocked. So different ways. You don't have to set all of these. And then when you sort it, what's the way it's going to be sorted? User ID or username. Right now, nothing is going to happen because you're going through, you're just trying to get a list. But if you come through here and you check this box, then that's going to update and actually mark those items assumed lost. So be very, clear and careful. Don't check this the first time you run through, because what it will do, it will update those items. And the checkout notice here, one sent, all of the details. And I'm kind of glossing through this one because I'm not sure how many of you will be interested. But of course, I can follow up with you if you think, oh, maybe I can manage that on my own and get some of those ancient history items off my list. But what I do recommend when you pick your selections, I do suggest saving this as a template. And I did not have everything the way I wanted, but I wanted to go quickly through this with you. Templates, then your assumed loss report is right here. You run it, and then if everything shows the way you like the first run, you come back to your template again, and you come into the update option and you check this box. But still, keep in mind, even though you've gotten the books labeled, they're still tied to the kids. So I don't know. You can decide to use this one or pass on this, because on the all circulation tab, there is another report. Now there's one called process long overdue items. This is something I would do because when it pops up, it asks for a super secret password that only library support know. And whenever I process this, it's something that I can set, and it gives me a little more control than running the script called Discharge Old Transactions. But I will run this to show you here, and we will quickly take a peek at this. So if I was going to run this, and I can say, all right, I'm just picking one library this time. And item, I'm not going to worry about users or user status. Something I can do here is what's going to happen now? What is their location basically saying? Am I going to change them to lost? Am I going to say they're missing? Think of this kind of like a global item modify for items that I can't scan because I don't have them. And it's basing it on these items at this building. But again, it has this update option. So I would run this as a template first before I actually do this, because this is going to process these. And then my long overdue option. Okay, what's going to happen here? Am I billing these? Am I changing the patron status? So if you ever requested for me to run this, those would be some details I would need from you as well. So just again, going through that quickly. I'm not going to actually perform this. I don't want to remove any of those or change their status. But rather than the process one, which you can't do, that's something I would do for you. I see that they have the long overdue items where we just have a list of them. And did I write that note to myself? Probably not. But it's on here on the same page. List users with overdues. No, it's the very end. There it is. Users with items long overdue. So this is one you can run. There's nothing going to get changed. It's just allowing you to run through it. What I like is that when I find the right tab, it's already defaulted to my library. And it has a certain amount of days. I thought it was 45 days. I'm just clicking through each tab because how about that? Yeah, it does default though. I will run this one since there's no harm in running and seeing our long overdues. The speaker notes does talk about the scripts that I would run for you, but it does not have any mention of the list of the overdues for the users with long overdues. So I'm going to open this up and show you here, but I thought it was 45 days. My mistake. That one is not an InfoHio report. So I need to remind myself to check the box for log and format. There we go. That looks better. Long overdues. And here they're saying my library. Got it. All groups. Got it. And username is in the list. It's telling me that it actually has discovered 4 patrons. And I know there's a lot of like gook in between because these are settings here and they're telling you some instructions that go along with this, but you'll eventually get down to the actual list here. And, oh, but I came out with 0. I must have missed a setting. I know I was looking for a date, so I had missed that. But my failed report will just help you guys when you run these yourself to do a better job. So schedule new, and these are the all circulation, and the top was assumed lost, and the bottom was users with items long overdue. So those of you who are experts at this, I'm sure you saw the mistake that I made and overlooked. And if you're wondering about the settings, why I don't have to uncheck the top and bottom box every time, when I go to report session, I have it right here. To view, print, or email finished reports, the only box checked is include results. So like that last report, that was a rare case because that was not an InfoHio report. I do need to manually check the other two, but this is one way to save yourself from having to uncheck those daily because you most often run InfoHio reports. And are there any questions for discharging old transactions or how to clear out those old checkouts? And maybe, yeah, this was just the assumed lost report where you would find it. Book list is something a little more fun to talk about. And it's a time of year where you're possibly getting requests from teachers. They're also settled and they're asking, hey, do you have these type of books? Or can you pull me a list? And good news is You have two ways that you can pull book lists. One way is through iSearch, and this actually stemmed from a request that we had earlier this fall. And when they asked, they were looking at the bibliographic report, and that was a little ugly and kind of made it work. But I remembered that Lori Pringle had shared with us last school year around January the iSearch My Lists. And so that's kind of what I offered at the time. And then the very next day or two, I was in a meeting with InfoHio, and I'm like, hey, everybody, what do you use? And to get a report out of workflows with just say a special word like Christmas for your search. And I learned that, gee, the shelf list is another way to get a search string for a subject, a title. There are several different ones you can pick from. This presentation has a handout to each of these linked. And the first one I'm going to show you is the iSearch method. And the handout is showing you screen by screen how you'd get in. So let's do that. I'm going to go ahead to my portal to cheat and get to my online catalog because I don't have my catalog bookmarked. And I'm going to iSearch. And up here it says My Account. I'm not logged in yet, but I'm going to. And this is the same as my Workflows account. So any of you who have never logged into your online catalog, this is how you would do it. This is how a patron would need to know what their PIN is. And faculty, I honestly, back in the late 90s, this is hilarious, but I was in the classroom at the time, and knowing that today's a snow day, we had an ice storm during our Christmas break. So I had an extra week off. There were 5 days. Ice was hanging from the power lines. This was 1998, December, and I was able to actually log in and do book requests back that long ago. So teachers are missing out on a really neat feature if they don't know of this. And if anybody needs help getting their faculty in or helping tell the faculty how, what their credentials are, just put in a support ticket. But here I'm at my own account. I am just logged in as the administrator. And at the right here, it says My Lists. So there is a temporary list, but I have nothing on it. I did make a fall list, and you can continue to save these and use them year after year. And the items already on this, then I could copy it. I could move it if I wanted to kind of slice and dice, because now I have Halloween in with my fall. Maybe I would want to separate them. I could do a print to screen. Oh, I better select all my items first. And then that gives me a list like this that I could email off or do a print PDF or even print to a hard copy and send off to teachers. And that list there on the left, I can click Add List. So list name, let's go for winter. And I'm going to click on Create. Next thing I would do here is in my iSearch field, just search the word winter. And I don't even have to be on my lists page anymore. I could be on the home page. But I first wanted to get logged in. And second, I wanted to have a name of a list saved. I can hit search and it'll only search my library at the top, or I can pick all libraries. So when I hit all libraries, then it changed to my district and it wiped out my search. So I should have done that, planned that better, but I'm going to go ahead and hit search again with my keyword, and I have 105 results. If I don't want all of these, I can hand pick the ones I like. If I want to go back to my home library, oh, only one. Well, that's why I did the district, because I had a lot more to choose from. And if I say, okay, these are going to be on my list, I can hand pick, I can do select all. And mind you, though, I have multiple pages because there are 105 results. I am only selecting all for the dozen that are on the first page. So select all, we'll get 12 of the 105. Actions at the bottom, add to my list. And I don't want it on the fall, it's now on my winter list. And I could make it default so I don't have to keep toggling that, and click add. And the items were added. So I can close the pop-up, advance to the next page, quickly review. If I say, yep, I think those are all going to work. I have actions, add to my list. And look at that. I did not have to pick winter because winter was already defaulted. So it saved me a click. So there we have it. And if I go now to my lists, I have the fall, I have my winter, and I can check if I want to manipulate or move this. I can click the title to display it. And again, select them and decide. I'm going to do a print screen, or I could place holds on those so nobody can check those out. So that's what I was doing back as a teacher in 1998. I was placing holds, and then when school resumed, the librarian knew about the holds and pulled those off the shelf for me. So it was really convenient. Now, that is how you would do it through iSearch. I'm going to ask Beth here if she's still with me. Do you ever use the iSearch lists at all? Okay, she has used them in the past. Thank you, Beth. And shelf lists straight from workflows. Now, if this is the route you prefer, you say, I'm not going to our online collection. That sounded like a lot of extra work to me. Then you can do your shelf list. And what's really nice about this, I asked InfoOhio, they made up this handout for us, and they're soon going to be adding it to the library handbook. So you guys are the first to have a new document that wasn't available before, but they must have liked the idea enough to share it with all of their libraries. Now, let's run through this one through workflows. And if we come in, I'm just going to go to Schedule New, my InfoOhio tab, Shelf List, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to go with Christmas this time. I don't want winter. And I'm going to pull that handout so I can follow these steps cleanly for you. And I'll just move it to another screen. Workflows goes back, and the steps actually kind of jump around a little, and that's okay. We could do this across the tabs, but I'm just following the handout the way they have it. So you have already gone through, if you're following the handout, the steps to go to the wizard group, click new reports, and on the InfoOhio tab, we've clicked shelf list. So now we're already up to step 6, and this is where they jump over to item selection. Now, pick your library. And again, I would like to pick all my libraries knowing, in my case of winter, I only had one. I want to collect as many as I can. And I've added my libraries. Step 8 and 9 is just adding all of them, and I've clicked the OK button. Now, if I wanted, this is optional, and step 12 is to limit it by group. So, do I only want my easy books? Do I want my paperbacks? Whatever you want to limit, I am not limiting. I'm trying to cast the net broad, but that is included in the handout. And we can limit the list to specific keywords. So this is actually the start of page 3. So everything so far has been the same as running a shelf list any other day of the week until page 3. Step 17 says go to the search string tab and do one of the following. And they have listed A or B. So A is saying enter a key word in the search string box. Christmas. It would be my word. And then that will search the entire MARC record for the word Christmas. Title, subject, anywhere, summary, like everything. So you might catch too much, but you can try it and see if you like it. If I want to limit, so this is option letter B, next to my word, I could put in curly bracket, capital S-U, curly bracket. And that is going to limit only searching in the subject headings in the MARC record. And we talked about MARC records at the start of today, so hopefully that makes a little sense to you. And it'll tell workflows only look in subject, not the title or the notes. Now, other supported tags include author, which would be AU. So that would mean an author who actually had the name Christmas. Then series, that'd be SER if you're looking for a series. We already used SU and TI. So maybe I want, all right, only books that have the word Christmas in the title. Now, I am going with subject, and then I can decide, all right, what kind of output? That's really optional, but I'm going to just say run now and display. We'll see what we get. So my shelf list, it is an InfoHio report, and now I have my list. There it is. A green Christmas, if Christmas were a poem. And we do see, yes, the first few have the word Christmas in the title, but not this one. Take Joy. Well, okay, it's part of the title, the Tasha Tudor Christmas book. So I picked subject. It just happens a lot of these have it also in the title. But here we are, Keelboat Annie, an African-American legend. All right, not having the word Christmas in it. World's Winter Words, or Word Birds, Winter Words. No Christmas word in the title, but it's going to be related. So that is the second way to run it straight out of workflows. So if you like that as an option, that is there for you as well. Something that came out just December 1st, the Buckeye Children's and Teen Book Awards. And the reason I included this is we have new library staff who maybe are wondering, how do I decide what books to buy? Do I stock it with topics that I like and I have interest? Or do I ask my kids? Do I go on Goodreads? And Beth, I'm going to ask you if you'd put in our chat, how do you decide what books to buy and stock on your shelves? And I thought, hey, this would be a way to go. The Buckeye Children's and Teen Book Awards. So the 2025 winners have just been announced, and these books won the highest number of votes out of the 5 nominees in its category. And it's an online voting process, and it's by young readers across Ohio. And I thought, why not pick kid-chosen books from our state even? So the nominations for the 2025 Buckeye Children's and Teen Book Awards were accepted from March 15th, 2024 to March 10th, 2025. Eligible books are those published in the US the previous 2 years, and they are not part of a series that had previously won the award. Voting was held between September 1st and November 10th, 2025. The Buckeyes Children's and Teen Book Award program is designed to encourage children in Ohio to read literature critically. We're trying to promote teacher and librarian involvement in children's literature programs. and to commend authors of such literature. And guess what? The program was established in 1981. And I'm, surprised I have not known about this. Those of you who live and eat and breathe library world every day probably know all about this award. So it's a collaborative effort from the Ohio Education Library Media Association, OELMA, the Ohio Council of Teachers of English and Language Arts, the Ohio Library Council, the Ohio Literacy Association, and the Kent State University School of Information, and lastly, the State Library of Ohio. So it's one of the few statewide Reader Choice Awards in which students nominate titles as well as vote for the winners. So if you're looking for a way to get the kids more engaged when they visit your library, and if they're a kid who says, I don't want to check anything out right now, encourage them to possibly nominate or vote. And there's links in the speaker notes. There's time to vote for the 2026 awards, and it could be a way to encourage those kiddos to just be more interactive with reading. And so you can see those there. I want to bring up the winner for grades K to 2. It's Mr. Fox's Game of No. The winner for grades 3 to 5. They call me No Sam. And our winner for grades 6 to 8, Heroes. And the last winner, teen level, is The Reappearance of Rachel Price. So now you know a little bit more about the Buckeye Children's and Teen Book Award and the latest winners. Check out those links again in the speaker notes and get your kids engaged and possibly do some voting and referring out there for the next year's awards. And I did ask this at the beginning, and who knows, how to buy what they buy. And Beth has listed, they used the Buckeye Children and Teens Awards as their summer reading list. So she'll use that as an option for ordering. I mean, it's a thought. I'm glad you like that idea. She also encouraged requests from students, teachers, check her book vendor's website and their favorites, and take a look at Junior Library Guild's list, JLG. So thank you for sharing how you suggest and figure out what to buy. I'm going to end this meeting with a user council update. And we do have user council representatives, and I didn't see them signed up on our event for today. And then with the snow day, that definitely killed some people's attendance. So they'll be watching this recording later. And I wanted to be sure, there were some things that just had timelines. They were looking for feedback, but it was November timelines, so I didn't include those. But they are asking for your feedback regarding fetch and visual search categories. So what's circled up there at the top is the fetch page. So it's okay if you're not an elementary library, you might still have input. Plus there are kiddos at the higher level buildings who may do a fetch style search. But 5 years ago, InfoHio created the visual search. The icons, the captions, they help students, of course, browse by topic, but student interest, curriculum, culture has changed even in that 5 years. So what they're focusing on is what's missing. So look at that, what you see on screen, and think, all right, what do you hear from your kids in your library? What do they talk about? What topics are newer or frequent requests? What categories or subcategories are not currently represented but should be? So this is going to take a little time to sink in and think of that. But each of the tiles here is doing a keyword search in the record, and it's looking at title, summary, and subjects. And since we talked just about book lists, you have a little more familiarity with Okay, yeah, subject, type search, or a title search. And these icons are doing title, summary, and subjects. So I am open to any feedback you can give because they have a little more time on this one. They're still working on it. I'm happy to take back anything from either our user council representatives or any of our users back to InfoHio so that they can possibly adjust these categories so they fit our students. This is the list of possible categories. So maybe you've been thinking while I was talking, and then these are some that they have come up with from other feedback. There was a August user council meeting, and like right there, artificial intelligence, that's so new. That wouldn't have been around 5 years ago. And then maybe genres like adventure and humor, mythology. I like the one that says more animals. So I don't know if they're thinking it really literally says more animals, but new ways for kids to look. I like Ohio history. Those suggestions probably came from teachers. I'm not going to say the kids gave them those suggestions. So those are possible categories. Please send in an email to support letting us know if you have ideas, and I will advance those on to InfoOhio. Another request from InfoOhio is which school districts block YouTube? So you'd never think that you'd have a meeting that would have so much follow-up, but this is a second thing I'm asking for feedback on behalf of InfoOhio. They are talking about moving possibly their digital video collection, but they need to know, ooh, if your district's blocking YouTube, and Beth, if you can let me know in the chat your case, then that would definitely be a problem. So they're looking for a path forward with posting their videos. So, and I am not aware personally of districts who block it. So I think they're in that same boat. They're wondering just in case. To wrap up this meeting, which actually has been a full meeting, I've been going at it now for an hour and 45 minutes straight, no break. But Information Literacy Hub. This was something the User Council, InfoOhio, presented to those. And it's an open space. In the speaker notes is a link then to the hub. And I'll talk as briefly as I can about it, because this could really turn into its whole long uh, subject to get really in depth with. But if you happen to watch this video and have a little downtime where you want to check this out, the Information Literacy Hub is useful to use with students and also for using yourself. So I'm going to go ahead. They have in here a collection, and it's the 25 educator materials. So the Open Space Literacy Hub here is trying to get you access to instructional materials. So it's really one long page that you can just keep scrolling through, but there is an About the Hub that starts right here, but jumping to any of these items is just going to move you farther down the page. Here are the educator materials. Now, anybody who is possibly teaching STEM, who I've come across a lot more lately this school year, you can look at possibly some of this digital literacy categories. These are for working with the kids. Here in the September meeting, we talked about research skills. So we have those in 2 areas. They have an entire AI literacy area. So if that's something, and if you say, oh, I don't do that in my building, well, possibly your language arts teachers do. So please share, because you're also that person to provide resources to them. Share this out so they are aware. But I'm looking at this area for you today, your library staff member, and what can you learn to benefit and do your job better. So there's 25 affiliated resources in here. And I'm going to do an example search. I know I saw that AI category, but I'm just going to do AI for the educators. So if I'm looking here, they talk about Ohio's AI in Education Coalition. Great. If you didn't know about this, this is from the governor, Lieutenant Governor John Husted. That's a direct link. And we can keep going through an AI K-12 toolkit. And moving on, the one I'm after today, oh, if you notice and you have Google Chrome and you see the word Gemini at the top. So what about generating AI using Gemini? So it's a little self-paced course. And thought I would find it higher up. There we go. This is the one I wanted to show you. Getting started with Google AI in K-12 education. So I'm just going to jump in one. I didn't have to do a keyword search, but this was my example for you. And it's saying it's going to take about 2 hours to complete. And InfoHio curated this to tell you these details because that was some feedback they received. They wanted to know, all right, if this is online, how long is it going to take? And they're telling you in this overview what you'll get. And again, I mentioned Gemini there a minute ago. So Gemini is in here as a personal assistant. And they're telling you, you're going to explore how to use it. And then how to use it with your Google Workspace. So if you use Docs, if you're in Gmail, so can Gemini be used to help you in maybe Google Slides? And then they have you in the course prepared at the end to begin using Gemini. So I'm really interested in this one myself. If I ever get some downtime or slow enough time, I'd love to take this. And I happen to be signed in. I have an OpenSpace account. That's something you sign up for free because there are different areas that you can benefit from. And this is then one that, because I'm logged in, I could save. So my items, I had some different categories. I'll make a new folder, call this my AI folder. And that's something I can come back to. I'll view that resource. It takes me out of the Open Space Hub. So really they're linking you to resources so you don't have to go find them. And they're all in one nice handy place. And it's telling me what will happen in the course. And I'm going to get started, as easy as answering some of those questions in their pre-survey. Anyone who, Beth is asking in our chat about earning CEU certificates when completing the open space modules, I think that's going to depend on each one, like this, sending me out to Google. Google may offer that certificate. So I don't know for each one. It really is going to depend. And again, here's a Google login. So it would track, and I've done a Google certification in the past. So I know that when you're signed into things, they are tracking and able to know how much time you've spent on it. It may have quizzes at the end. So I would suspect the one I have on screen would possibly, but I can't guarantee that with all that is provided here with open space because they go to various and sundry locations. But that would be a nice place to get some PD if you guys are looking for hours. And to mention that here, so today we have Beth with us, and I will send this out if anybody asks for it because it's a little harder to track, but I'll put this in our chat today if Beth, you want to count the 2 hours of sitting and listening to me ramble on. That had to have been a lot for you. I hope you at least enjoyed yourself. And that brings us to the end of our class or meeting. Sorry to call it a class here today, but it was something I enjoy doing. And she says she's glad she made it. I sure am too. But I understand those of you who look out and probably have kids at home who you need to focus on. Definitely enjoy the rest of the day. And I will get the recording of this posted as soon as I can. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks,